Good morning, guys. Welcome to another bitter cold morning at the cottage and just like clockwork. Say hello, Lily. Hello. Okay. Oh, goodness. Anyway, and yes, Tiger is back in the window again, so let's see what kind of mischief he gets into today. Although today I am keeping an eye on that little brat because I did not want him jumping on my keyboard and destroying it again. Okay, so here we go. So I started a new project last night because being up on the hillside and you never know what you're going to run into. Plus there are illegal hunters all over the place around here. And yes, you can call the game warden, which is similar to bang your head in the wall and yell for help. So last night I started up working on a hat. It's going to have a rolled brim. But this is the Red Heart Yarns reflective in the orange, bright orange. And so that's what I've got, I'm working on. Ooh, love this. So anyway, so that's in the making at the moment. And it was just nice to just kick back and watch Poirot last night and knit along. The other thing that I started up, I'll show you in a minute, but it has to do with a workshop that I was in this month by Kara Gott Warner, who's the editor of Creative Knitting Magazine. And she did a workshop for January called Stitchucation. And if, like myself, you're a supporter of her on Patreon, you got cool little sheets like this with all kinds of great information on it. And I mean, she just put so much work into these. When you figure that she has another job, you know, as creative editor or as editor of Creative Knitting Magazine, and she's a mom, she's a wife, and then she, you know, has her own side business with Power Pearls podcast, which is fantastic. Highly recommend it. But anyway, I mean, just the work that she put into these with the outline and then figuring out the layout for it, figuring out what images you want to use, and getting them the way that you want those to look. I mean, there was just amazing, just the work that she put into this. This is just a couple of the pages, but each week Patreon supporters got one of these, and she's got, I think in March she's going to be doing another one. But basically the focus on it was it's like a beginner's it's like a beginner designing course on how to design, and it's just really great. And there's nothing I'm saying that isn't available to you for free on her site, on her YouTube channel. If you go to Power Pearls Plus or Power Pearls on Facebook, you can access it, or look for Kara Gott Warner, and the videos are there. It was just, they were for everyone, but if you're a Patreon supporter, you got all the extra goodies, plus you got the audio, and then you get other helpful stuff that non-supporters don't have access to. But what I learned from it was just sort of like emphasizing how lazy I am on doing stuff. For instance, I have a problem with swatching. And the reason I do is because, and you'll notice this is short swatch, but the reason I do is because it uses up a lot of yarn. And I'm sorry, but Lion Brand Chunky for me is expensive. And I have a limited budget, and I have to be very tight with it. And so if I make a big 8x8 swatch, I've used up a good portion of the yarn that I could have used for a cow, or I could have used it to make a hat and then try to sell it. Yeah. But so I'm wrestling with getting over that. I really am. And it is so hard. So my best bet right now is make the swatch, take a picture of it, put it on my computer and store it, and then go back and look at it. But I don't save the swatches. I undo the swatches except for this one. And a couple more I'm going to show you. So anyways, but I also, in not saving it, it's like, I mean, I've got some swatching that I've done that I've saved because some of the swatches have been very important for projects that I've done. And I've had to do many versions of them. And those I do save. But I also have limited storage space. So that also makes a huge difference on what I do with swatching. But anyways, I think the biggest thing, the real biggest thing that I learned, aside from that, that I'm a cheapskate, but it's that I always focus on just using, say, worsted weight yarn. Because I'm a Red Heart fan. I'm a Red Heart girl. I can't help it. And so I tend to always reach for my number 4 worsted weight Red Heart all the time. Anytime I pull out my knit stitch dictionary, I reach for Red Heart. Or I pull out the cross stitch dictionary. I'm going to do the same, a crochet dictionary. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to reach for number 4. Well, what Kara's helped me get over is stop reaching for number 4. Reach for all kinds of yarn weight. Pick a stitch, and then try that stitch out with different size needles on different sizes of yarns. You know, like even for this one I did, hold on. Oh, what did I do it on? I used number 17 needles, and this is, by the way, Lion Brand Hometown USA Chunky Anchorage Ice. Some of you probably recognized it because it's a beautiful color. I love it. But anyways, I'm very, very soft. What I wrote down when I did this, and this is interesting because we're supposed to record everything about our swatch when we make it in our designing journal. So what I had written on this was it's a bit stiff. Not sure how it would work as a scarf for a cow. Well, when I first made it, it was pretty stiff. But you know what? You let your yarn sit and let it relax for a few weeks. And I mean, by then it's really relaxed. And you've got a nice, far from being stiff swatch. I mean, this is, and this is just, you know, a tiny little fella. But I mean, it's really loosened up tremendously. So that was a lesson learned. Let your swatches sit and let the yarn relax, and then you can see how it's honestly going to be on the project. And then I took this was done, I think I told you it was mustard. And so then I thought, okay, let's go crazy. And I pulled out, ooh, where'd it go? Hello. Oh, there it is, hiding under swatch. Thread. I think it's this Lydia's thread. I can't remember. At Walmart, you know, that little thready. So I pulled it out and I decided I've never done a moss stitch with it before. And there it is. And that is neat. I love how it turned out on that thread. And I was surprised because at this size, it really, even though it's just tiny, it just didn't take that long to do it up. And I used, I think, what was that, number 4 needles? Yeah, I used number 4 needles cast on. This is 16, cast on 16 with number 4 needles. And what did that come to? That came out to about 2 3/4 inches. And what did I put on here that is nice and stretchy, which I didn't expect from the thread. It would be good for summer, a lightweight vest or a shawl. A longer needle would give it more drape, and it would. This has loosened up a lot, but not as much as I thought it would. So anyway, so I've learned, you know, quite a bit from that, and to take the information that you discover later on as time goes by, like, you know, when I picked this up yesterday and I saw how limp that was, that has to be recorded inside my journal so I know. And then another one that I did, and darn it, another error for me is not having written down what size needle I used for this. Another failure on my part. not writing down what size needle, but again, it was the moss stitch with large needles. And I'm guessing I used a 10 or a 10.5, probably a 10.5. Yeah, probably a 10.5 on it. But anyways, pulling it off on that, and that again is the moss stitch. But you know, I mean, that's a loosey goose there. And it really wasn't too much different from this when I first made it. But this is the Red Heart, I think it's Sunset, I think. Well, it's the same thing that I made the hat out of. There we go. But anyway, so that's what we've been doing. Learning to take one stitch, try it on various fabrics, and try it on various fabrics with various size needles, not just, hi, I did it with number 4 on this, but hey, let's see what other needle sizes this might look good in. That type of stuff. And then making sure you record everything inside of your journal. And what I did with this, was I put down, I photocopied it, and I threw my swatch on my photocopier and printed it out in black and white. And I did it in black and white on purpose because black and white will show up the shading within the pattern. And I think it makes, you can see the stitches better than if you do them in color. So I did the black and white photo of it and put it in there. So I wish I'm going to have to do up another one of these so I can record it. But I'm pretty certain that was the 10.5 needles. But no, I don't think so, Lily. So anyway, that was a biggie for it. And on that one. And then, so anyway, go back through, look for I'll put the link to the videos down below, and go back and watch her videos that she's done on this course. And it's all about just learning swatching and getting your gauge down. The rest of the course is about, gauging and learning how, and by the end, you're learning how to turn that swatch and that stitches that you've chosen into a finished product, and so on and so forth. And she gives a master pattern for it. So master patterns, if you don't know, master patterns are something for you to play with, and you can tweak the crap out of them and turn them into anything you want. But it's got that basic idea set for you so that you know how to work, without doing, sometimes without having to actually do extreme counts in math. But anyway, so I'll put the link below and you can check that out. And then the other thing I started last night, which is in line with the class, is using size 15 needles, because I'm using bulky, and I really do want to stick with the size 15 needles on it. I don't remember the name of this colorway, or this one, because I'm terrible about it. Or this one. I don't remember. But I can tell you they're all Lion Brand. But anyway, I started last night. This was another swatch I was playing with. And that's the moss stitch using a number 15 needle on this one. Chunky weight. Isn't that cool? I like that on there. So this is going to turn into... I'm going to use something from each of these. I'm more or less just trying to use up some yarn that I haven't used in a long time, and so anyways, and I want it to do it up fairly fast, and it'll go fast after I figure out my second stitch pattern. But I'm trying to use 2 different stitch patterns. So I'm going to use the moss stitch, and I think I've figured out what my second stitch is going to be. And what I'm going to pull from, rather than do a rectangular shawl or what was the other one? Or an infinity scarf, rather than do either one of those, I pulled out this wonderful book called Classic Elite Shawls, Wraps, and Scarves. I got this ages back off of Amazon. And I liked this idea with it. Check that out. Just doing that. But I think rather than having it be so narrow, I'm going to make it wider than that. Because I'd really like one wider than that. So I thought I think this is what, 7.5 inches wide? Yeah, they did this, where'd it go? Come on. Oh, yeah, it's 7.5 inches wide, including the edging, and 42 inches long, including the edging. So I thought, well, I'm going to change that up a bit, and I'll make it, you know, whatever I want on there. I think I'm going to go with 12 inches, because I'd like to have it hanging down a little lower, because, my God, it's just so stinking cold. Yeah, I know we're into February, but February happens to be our absolute coldest month. So I wanted something a little warmer to have around me at night when I'm in my bedroom where there is no heat. So anyway, so that's what I'm up to. And so feel free to share your patterns that you're working on right now. Kirsten, who's a Facebook fan and a newsletter subscriber, she's got a new pattern out that she's done. She had done a free pattern for a hat on her website, and she just finished up the matching, I think it's cow. Sorry. But anyway, I've got the link down below to it as well, and check out her free patterns, and because they're really, really good and really nice. And I like the way she writes her patterns up, because Kirsten puts in all this little extra information that keeps you from making mistakes. So I like that. I really, really like that. So anyways, check it all out, and we'll catch you tomorrow, guys. Have a great day.